Hey everybody, Brendan here. Welcome back to another tournament game analysis video. Today we're going to be playing with the black pieces against Nicholas. I had an okay tournament at the start, and I started going downhill. And this is another proof of me going downhill a bit. So, let's get into the game. Alright, so we see d4, I play d5, knight c3, and I play c6 here. I don't know why I played c6. I probably should have played knight f6 to prevent e4. But I played c6, allowing e4. And I think my idea was I was just going to go into a Caro-Kann because I knew this opening well. And from what I remember about the game is, if someone's going to play something like knight c3 against me, then I kind of want to go into a French or a Caro-Kann, like something, not maybe a French, but definitely a Caro-Kann where it's a bit more positional, and maybe my opponent wouldn't be happy doing that. So that's why I played c6. They played bishop f4, keeping in their repertoire of like a d4 type of opening. I play bishop f5. We see queen d2. I play e6. f3. Knight f6, and now h4, which just feels wrong. Just because of all their dark squares that are all of a sudden weak. And if I play h5, which I did, then it doesn't really feel like any break is going to happen anytime soon. And that's true. My opponent played bishop g5. I played knight bd7. And little funny thing here is if e4, I don't have to worry. I can just take it. And the important part is not to take it with the knight. This is a mistake, because if I take it with the knight, then they can just take back and my queen's hanging, and they just took a piece. But instead, I can just take with the bishop. So I was just setting a little bit of a trap here, because after bishop takes, then this is just a pawn. Like if knight takes, now I can play knight takes because both queens are attacked. And if they move their queen, I can just take on g5. This is just winning. My opponent castles instead. I play bishop b4 to pin the knight and be annoying, because my idea is I might want to go for c5, queen a5, something like this. They play a3 before I can play something like queen a5, which is annoying. I was considering taking c3, probably should have, but I played bishop e7 instead. And now I'm happy because my opponent played e4, which does just drop the pawn. So d takes e4, takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes. Their idea was rook e1, they get some initiative. It's not enough, not even close, but they still wanted to go for it. Bishop f5, knight f3. And yeah, if I play f6 here, there's not just f6, there's also castles, or even like knight f6. Then yeah, I should be better. I play a very risky move. I took on g5, and I don't really think there's a reason to. But that's what I did. Because after h takes g5, the problem is they might have some g4 if I castle short. And that, or even sacrifices on h5, which we'll see in the game, by the way. But okay, bishop c4. Which is actually something we're pretty happy to see. They should probably play something like bishop d3, get rid of this guy, one of the defenders on my king side, and then again they can prepare some sort of like g4 break if I castle short, which it feels like I almost have to. But okay, bishop c4. I didn't really see a way that I could castle long. I was really concerned. I wanted to really badly, like queen c7, but I saw knight g4 pop up. And I wasn't happy with like castles long, and then knight takes f5 where I have to take with the g-pawn, and my h-pawn's weak. Also, there's g6 here, which I'm pretty sure I calculated. I could be wrong though. And they just immediately get their pawn back anyways. But yeah, I was worried about all this, so I just castle short, which is fine, but also practically it's really tricky because now again this g4 stuff could come. They play queen f4. Obvious intentions. They're going queen h4 next move. And here I go queen b8, which doesn't inspire me at all. I think rook c8's better. just because with the idea of rook c8 we're just going to go like c5 or b5 and just try to open up their king side. Queen b8 is very passive in return, but that's what I played. They actually have a really strong move here, knight e5, which is pretty impressive. There's a few moves here, like I can play king g7, knight takes e5 or c5. c5 is like really hard to play though, but this is probably our best shot at getting some sort of advantage. But okay, they play queen h4 now, and we can see their intentions. They're gonna go like bishop e2 or knight h2 and g4. The good thing is with my queen on f4, they're not really in time to play g4 quite yet, because I have queen f4 check, which either picks off g4 or picks off g5 in some sort of way. Most likely g4 though. We see bishop g4, which is a mistake. This is just a very stupid one. They can play knight h2 now, and now it makes a lot of sense. Queen f4 check isn't as great because, well, as we'll see, king b1. Now there's this like pin here, which is really annoying. So let's just say we play king g7. Now they can play bishop e2, add on to the pressure of the pin. Eventually they'll take it, and it feels like there's going to be a lot of trouble. We have to already play a move like rook h8, which is no. White's better, actually close to winning. So yeah, they played rook e4 instead, which is a lucky break because now I can take on f3. And now rook e8. And black should probably actually win this because the king side, our attack on their king is a lot faster than theirs, as long as we just make sure our king is able to go king f8 to e7 if needed. And for some reason, that's the only thing I don't allow myself to do. So queen h3, queen d6, improving the queen, normal move, rook h4. So yeah, as long as I just play with something like b5 looks great, b5, bishop e2 probably will be played, like f4 and bishop takes h5 sacrifices. And I just continue going on, like a5 looks great, b4, even maybe a4 and then b4. I'm winning, totally winning. Like this is actually just over. But no, I don't play that. Instead, here I play queen f8. The only move to give my king no safety. f4, because now they're going to go bishop e2 and take on h5. I have to fianchetto my queen. This was my idea from the start. Where I was going to potentially take on d4. Bishop e2 comes. And yeah, as long as I play king f8, like I'm still fine. But now they have quite a bit of play in return, because there's always possible ideas of sacrificing. Maybe king b1 as a preparatory move. And then they are very likely to sacrifice on h5 and get a lot of play on the h file. They don't need to, as long as they just hold the threat. That's pretty strong as well, because we can't really move our king further because we have to worry about like f5, for example. Yeah, so that's a problem. But okay, here I played the only move that like loses the game pretty much. I guess no, that's not true. A few moves lose, but this is an especially bad one. Knight f8, blocking my king from escaping. So now they play c3, preventing queen takes d4 stuff. Rook a8. And yeah, now already it's hard to play something like knight d7 because they can sacrifice, and I can't really even escape because my queen pretty much just gets trapped here. Actually, f5 is even better than any like rook h7s, and it's kind of clear why. Yeah, we're losing this, but okay. Rook a8, bishop takes h5, g takes h5, rook takes h5, and I think like, oh great, I'm probably the worst chess player ever. I am like an insult to the game, but that's okay. That's okay. How do we come back from this position? I'm yawning a bit because it's early in the morning. Don't mind me. How do we come back from this position? And I think the only way to do that is to make it messy. Again, kind of like game 2. So I start with f6, which looks so stupid. But the idea is maybe I can get myself some lift. Like, let's just say they play really stupid. Now king f7 all of a sudden is drawing the game. Straight up drawing the game. So like it's not really maybe a natural move. King b1 doesn't really make as much sense. You know, you want to go on the attack, and it looks like you're just straight up winning material here with like rook h6 or even rook h8 check stuff. But no, actually rook h8 check is also not really a great move because king f7. So another little tricky there. But okay, they take on f6, which is winning. Queen takes f6. Now they play rook g1 check. I can't play king f7 because now rook h7 does just completely work. It's going to be mate. I'm going to take it. I have to block with my queen, and then queen takes with mate. So that's no good. I play knight g6, and my goal is, hey, if they, for some reason, take on g6, I'm a very happy boy. And they did. So now I'm a very happy boy. And this is a completely different scenario where, sure, they can play rook g5, but as long as we are careful here, there's a lot more work that they have to do. So queen takes g5, f takes g5. It's now 2 rooks versus a queen, where my king is unsafe, so I'm still the one defending here. There's no reason to believe otherwise. Turns out the only move in the position is e5. So hard to see. Obviously, I did not see this. Because it opens the position more when our king is unsafe and opens up the long diagonal more. I didn't see it. I played rook d7, and now it's losing. But they have to find the idea of bringing their king up and then going for c4 and then d5 when their queen is on e5, because they need to take advantage over the e file. So I'll give a sample line here of how it would look. So let's just say like rook f7, for example, king c2, rook e7. I guess queen g6 is possible, but we're just going to ignore that. None of that matters here. Eventually, they're going to go for a position like this. Let's say check now. It doesn't really matter. But let's say they even go here. E5 is possible for us now, so ignore that. But there are ways to get to a position where eventually, I guess a6 is a bit more challenging, actually, for us here. And then queen e5 comes. And they're aiming for a position like this, where their king is aptly placed, and they're just going to go for d5 the second we move our rook. So let's say rook f7, g6, rook g7, and now d5 can come. And d5 is actually not correct here, funnily enough. So they have to do a little bit more preparation. Let's see how. Queen f6, rook c7. This is what I mean, though. It's very finicky for some reason. And the big thing I want to know is just what if I shuffle? It keeps suggesting queen f6 now. King a4. Say rook d7. King a5, rook g7, king b6. So they get to their king to b6 after we've played a6. And now they go queen e5. And now they go d5. So they have to get their king to b6. Yeah, sorry, I forgot this actually before because I didn't analyze this. They have to get their king to b6 by provoking a6. And then once they've done that, only then can they play d5. Because the idea is that their king can go to c7 if possible. Like if they're lucky, then they can go like king c7, d6, d7. That's a lot to ask. And that's like the only winning plan that I could find, by the way. That doesn't just like, that's black, not just like letting them like win by just like hanging a rook or something. This is by like really trying to hold things together. So they play queen h6. I play rook g7, queen f6, rook e to e7. And I'm just going to be shuffling this rook back and forth. That's it. That's my only plan. G6, a6, king c2, rook e8, rook g e7. And I'm just going to shuffle e7, g7, e7, g7. There's not really a good way to attack this rook ever, luckily. It's actually impossible to attack my rook on e8 because they'll need squares, d7 or f7. And they're both covered by my e rook, so I can just shuffle back and forth. And they have to find this plan. And of course they don't. King e4, rook d7 now, queen e5, rook g7, queen h5, rook f8. And now it's actually a draw, by the way. After this position, rook f8 is holding the game because now I actually have a perpetual attacking the queen with rook f5 and rook f8, and they have to keep contact with their h-pawn, and they're not able to do that like efficiently because I'm also threatening rook f6 and taking the pawn, and all of a sudden maybe I can push, right? Because all of my weaknesses will be covered as well. Like b7 and e6 are covered after rook f6 and then taking on g6. So queen g5, and after rook f5, I believe I offered a draw here, and my opponent accepted. I don't know if it was them that I offered the draw or if it was me, but I know that we did agree to a draw here, because now it actually is one, because there's not really a good way to keep contact with the g6 pawn. It just falls, and the second it falls, there's no more ideas of like c4, d5, because they don't do anything anymore. And yeah, so luckily I found like this really weird fortress that's like not a fortress, but it is, as long as they don't find this idea of bringing their king to b6 and then playing for d5, which is pretty insane. So not a good game. My confidence was pretty low at this point because I played what was a pretty good tournament at the start, played one bad game, and the tilt just messed up the rest of my games. But that's it. That's going to cover it for this one. So I hope you guys did enjoy. Hopefully you learned something as well. Very interesting break, by the way. And that's it. So have a good one, everyone. I will see you all in the final rounds of the Quebec Open. See you then. Bye-bye.